Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
So, in our current state of being in the workforce, in life in general, we do have a tendency to find that we need to hold space for each other. Whether that be your team that you are leading or maybe people in your family, so that we can actually discuss things and be open to new options and new possibilities. But sometimes it just feels too hard. Have you ever wondered when it might be time to step back for yourself? That's what we're going to discuss today. We're going to look at the emotional weight of leadership. And when I say leadership, I'm not only talking of us in our work environments. I am talking of you as a leader in your life and the emotional weight that you might be carrying that may or may not be yours. And with that, we're also going to bring in Dr. Jacalyn as we are going to discuss it with her today here on A Women's Prerogative. Very excited.
Welcome. Hello. It's nice to be here. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining me and our wonderful topic. Before we jump into our topic, however, what is it that you bring into our wonderful space here on USA Global TV and Radio?
I think I bring in all the experience that I have as an entrepreneur who knew nothing about being in media. And it's been a really fabulous 5 years. And you've been here since the beginning, even before the beginning. And it's just an amazing how people can come together virtually and create a global platform.
Yeah, and you've built this one. So if you guys have joined us before or as you are joining us, this is part of Dr. Jacalyn's great creations. And I am sure, Dr. Jacalyn, with emotional weight in leadership, seeing as you are leading not only yourself but also the team, we are going to have a fascinating discussion today. So when you think about emotional weight, what comes up for you first?
When I'm making decisions as the team leader, I'm always thinking about the team members and how people will benefit from the decisions that I make. And it's interesting because not everyone is always on board. And even though I do a lot of research and I check with my coaches and mentors, that doesn't mean that everyone is interested in moving in the direction that I basically move us forward in. And so I have to hold space for those people to be able to express themselves and feel like they're still part of the team, even if they're not seeing the big picture.
And I am sure that those conversations might sometimes be a little bit tricky.
It's very true because with everything that I've been teaching about listening, I need to let people say what they have to say without interrupting them, without trying to fix them, and then express to them that this is an opportunity where we're going. And I'd like them to come along for that ride. But many times, fewer than many, I should say, people are not on board. They're not getting in the boat, so to speak. So I still have to hold space for them because I respect everyone who's here and I want everyone to be happy with what they're doing.
So when you think about where you started initially being in corporate and where you are now, and the type of emotional weight that you carried then and that you are carrying now, how are they different?
I've never worked more or harder than I have in the last 5 years. And it's a joy, actually. It's a pleasure. But before, when I was in corporate, I had a lot of incredible benefits traveling across the world and five-star resorts and flying first class and meeting with executives and going out to fabulous meals. And of course, all that changes when you are on your own doing your own business. So I feel like before, at the end of the day, I could just move forward with my life and not really think that much about what was going on because I was part of a big company. But now I never can step away. It's always with me and planning for the future and planning an exit strategy if something were to happen to me and turning it over to other people to run it. I think about these things all the time. And then I'm also consistently looking at where is the media industry, where's the entertainment industry going, and how can we make sure that we are in alignment with where it's going.
And because it's so different, I mean, being in corporate, as you mentioned, there's things that we need to do, and everything is not on our shoulders. Whereas now there's a difference in the responsibilities that you have and the way that you interact. And I'm wondering, from an emotional standpoint, or if we were to take an emotional lens to this, how does it feel different? Because you also mentioned that even though this is a lot of work currently, it is a lot of fun. So I'm wondering, how does the emotional piece of this puzzle work for you?
There are times when I am so excited, but I have to temper it because I'm also about reaching goals. And once I reach a goal, I'm happy that I did, but I'm already on to the next thing. So I never get too emotional one way or another. I don't have any high highs or low lows. I'm pretty much in the middle. But I can say this, that working with so many people from different cultures in different parts of the world, and then of course I have my other business with coaching and private advisory, other people tend to get very emotional. And so I've had to learn, how can I be professional and not get emotionally involved? Because I did do that when I first became a coach, and I would start crying with my clients and get angry with my clients. And then I realized that I wasn't really serving any value. So I do keep my emotions in check. And what I typically do is I look for solutions. What is the solution that is needed? And if we don't keep our emotions in check, many times that is just an obstacle to keep us from moving forward and finding a solution.
It sounds like a well regulated emotional state really serves you well, both in doing your work as well as holding space for others. And that brings me to the next thing that I'm wondering about, which is when we are in a well regulated state ourselves, and you said having those conversations where it might be a little bit more tricky with some people. How do you personally handle emotional tsunamis, shall we call them, from others that might be spilling over in what it is that you might be creating, or even just their opinion of potentially things that you might be doing or ways that you might be doing things?
When someone attempts to challenge me, which happens quite often, I'll get emails, or if I'm meeting with someone and then they want to challenge me about what it is that I'm doing, instead of taking it as something to be upset about, I'm excited that they're even interested, that they're interested in whatever it is. And so I'm very open to hearing people's perspectives. And then I try to understand what is it that's at the core of this confrontation, so to speak. So if someone wants to challenge me, I say to myself, I wonder what's really going on. And typically what happens is the person is insecure or worried or concerned or anxious about something, and they're not able to process it themselves. So they reach out to me to see what my thoughts are. And the younger me might have been upset about that, but the older me looks at it as, well, the person's interested. They put time into reaching out and thinking whatever it is that they think. So let me understand where they're coming from, because maybe I will learn something from it.
I love how you are bringing in the older and the younger you, and how you might have responded to it differently, and how the perspective change. And that's really what I'm picking up on, is it's been a perspective change or a shift for you on even how you interact with people when they might bring something in, where it's their own state that has a reaction to the thing in whatever shape or form that might take. Um, so what I am wondering next is, because we have these reactions to things from time to time, and I know I have them lots of times. And sometimes they show up in really good ways and sometimes not so good ways. Have you ever had an experience where maybe things didn't go quite as you thought it might, and you needed to check yourself as you were holding space, right? Thinking, oh yeah, I've got this. And then something happened, didn't quite have it. And you needed to do something in order to step back into the holding space place, basically. So have you had something like that? And please tell us what you did in that middle piece.
As a public figure, as you are, there are countless times people I don't know will reach out to me selling something, analyzing something, and telling me that something could be better, something could be different. And so one of these times, I was actually referred by a team member to work with this organization, and they were going to be focused on my books. So I've written, I think, 28 books that are published. And so they were going to get me into all of these bookstores. And it ended up, not only was that part of what I was paying them for, but they also did social media marketing. So they did a fairly good job with the social media marketing. And I learned a lot, because now I do social media marketing for other people and also for us. But at the same time, the other things I hired them for, they didn't do anything. They basically just took the money. And then when I confronted them with it, they disappeared. And I looked them up on Trustpilot, and they had I'd never even heard of that. Someone told me about it, but trustpilot.com, I think. And they had a really bad reputation, that they're known for running scams. And initially I was so angry and so upset, because I just had a feeling all along. The first thing that really was a red flag was when they said they don't have any of these typical ways that you can pay. So in the United States, you pay by PayPal or Zelle or Venmo or Cash App. They didn't have any of them. And I thought it was interesting that they didn't have PayPal, because that is pretty common, especially using it for accounting and invoicing purposes. And so it had to be a bank wire transfer, and they were in one state and the bank was across the country in a different state. And I just thought, something about this doesn't make sense. So I was very upset at myself, because the red flags were there, but I moved forward because they were referred in. And what I was going to do ultimately, to take legal action, I decided not to, because I thought that brings in a whole other element and it keeps it perpetuating. And now you're aligned with this company because you're going to take them to court. So I just decided to walk away from it. And when I did that, after giving it careful consideration, I put my emotions at bay and I said, okay, I'm not going to be upset about this anymore. I was definitely scammed. I definitely lost the money. And I'm upset with myself because I knew this didn't seem right. So that was an example. It was a considerable amount of money, and I'm sure they're still out there doing whatever it is they're doing. But I decided to nip it in the bud, so to speak, and then just say, okay, that's a sunk cost of doing business.
And it sounds like there's also a portion of going back to almost center, where you saw the red flags, and because of some external input, people referring somebody or trusting somebody else that has a relationship with this group, we start to doubt ourselves in, is it a red flag? Did I really see that? Did I not see that? And then going back to, you know what? This was actually something that was showing up for me. And next time I will listen, hopefully. And I know for me, it doesn't always work, but hopefully a little bit sooner. So that makes me wonder about this holding space for others, as you know, in your team, having discussions and growing the group as we are growing at the moment. And then understanding when is the times when maybe we shouldn't do that and we should first hold space for ourselves and just center back. How do you know when it's time for you to sort of go, no, I need to center myself, I need to listen to myself and look at potentially the flags that's coming up or the thing that's going on, and then make a decision from there?
When I find myself getting upset or irritated or annoyed, because I am sometimes, because I have so many people reaching out to me for things at the last minute where they want to give their input and they wait until the last minute. And then I'm like, why didn't you tell me this before? And so when I feel those things coming up, I say, I need to check myself, because obviously something's coming up for me. Why am I feeling this way? And so then I will take a time out. Typically on part of a Saturday, I'll just take a time out for me, for mental and physical self-care, so that I can start to process things. But I notice when my mood starts to change that there's something going on that I need to address.
So those mood changes, and they are wonderful indicators. I so love and loathe mood changes from time to time, because sometimes I ignore mine just a little bit. And then to your point, they are good as flags for us to notice. And before we get into the next part of our conversation, we will take a short little commercial break and then be right back exploring our topic of emotional weight in leadership.
Hey, you. Psst. Yes, you. Watching this right now. Are you creating content, a blog, a podcast, a newsletter, going live on Instagram or TikTok, and still not seeing real visibility or growth? Here's why. Anyone can post, anyone can go live, but not everyone is positioned to be taken seriously. Right now, people are going to YouTube to search for experts, for answers, for credibility. So while you're putting in the work, someone else is being seen as the authority. Not because they know more, because they're positioned better. Now imagine this. Your own professionally produced TV show, marketed, distributed, optimized with SEO so people can actually find you. Not just seen, but searchable, discoverable, positioned. You're trained, you're coached, you're guided. No experience necessary, but you do have to be coachable, because this is about stepping into a higher level. This isn't about doing more, it's about doing it right. We've already built the platform, 2 YouTube channels, a global audience, a Silver Creator Award. So the question is, how much longer are you going to rely on temporary visibility when you could be building real authority? If you're ready to be seen differently, go to usaglobaltv.com and apply to host your own show. This is for individuals who are serious about investing in their visibility, their credibility, and their growth. If that's you, we're ready. USA Global TV and Radio, where your voice becomes your platform. Executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Videographer, Paul Garcia. Voiceover, Ed Vargas. All rights reserved. This production is the exclusive property of the USA Global TV and Radio and may not be reproduced, distributed, or used without written permission.
So we started off looking at emotional weight of leadership and looking at different ways that this might show up. So what I would really love to dig into, and I know that most of you would maybe also appreciate this, is a couple of tricks and tips. There you go. My tongue just decided to do all sorts of weird things. Tricks and tips that we can use when we want to hold space for our team. So this might be individuals or the whole team, as well as understanding what we can do in those moments when we need to step back. Noticing, as Dr. Jacalyn mentioned earlier, when the emotion comes up and we might feel a little bit frustrated or irritated or whatever our flag is that we get. So, Dr. Jacalyn, as we jump into this next piece, what tips and tricks do you have to hold space that you have found works really well with your team?
I will hold team meetings, which is another topic because we have so many different time zones. And as you know, you're a day ahead. So if we're having a team meeting that's other than in the evening, you probably can't make it. So it's very difficult to try to arrange the team meetings so that everybody can make it. But when I have the team meetings, that's when I'm sharing these updates and looking for interaction from the team. And so what I found is, and I think this is pretty standard across any team, some people show up for every meeting and they're really interested, and some people don't have any interest. And so I used to get upset about that, but I don't anymore because I feel like we all decide what part of the journey we're going to be on and how actively involved in the journey. And so I just appreciate everyone and hold space instead of taking it personally or as an insult. But then what I'll also find is someone who didn't come to the meeting, then they want to know, can you email me what was discussed? And that kind of sets me off a little bit because it's hard to just put everything in an hour and a half into one email and get the point across. But then at the same time, I say to myself, well, I'm not going to go down this path of getting upset. So what I've decided is now I just say, no, I'm not sharing any updates. You have to come to the meeting or there's no updates or you can schedule time to talk to me.
Well, it sounds like being very clear about boundaries is really helpful within those meetings. And outside of them too, so that we know what we can and cannot expect within those spaces when we are creating space. When you think about having those one-on-one meetings, so say for instance, somebody missed their time together in the bigger meeting, or maybe they have extra questions or whatever the case might be, and you have those one-on-one conversations. What do you find works really well when you hold space in those types of conversations?
Well, understanding the team member's perspective and how they are incorporating this visibility through USA Global TV and Radio or not into what they're doing professionally. So I always say to people, if you're not loving what you're doing, if you don't feel like you're growing, then we need to have a conversation. But it's important to understand what is the reason people are doing hosting of the shows. And as we continue, you've been here 5 years, and hopefully you'll be here till the cows come home. You're younger than I am, so you can be here longer than me. But you hope that you create a space where people want to keep coming back because they keep growing. And if that's not the case, then it's time for a conversation. So I hold that space open. And so I think that's one of the things, is not getting your own opinion in the way of listening to what other people, what their needs are, and how you can assist them in meeting and exceeding those needs.
And it sounds like, because I know that you have a few books actually, depending on your age range, on listening, and you're really employing those listening skills within the meetings that you have and conversations that you have, plus perspective taking within that as well. And as we are creating these spaces, because I know sometimes, for me in any case, I might not be in the mental space to necessarily be able to hold space properly. So depending on what's going on for me, I might be a little bit stressed about something, or I might have a lot going on, and then it might not be the greatest time to have a conversation. So Dr. Jacalyn, for you, when you notice for yourself that something's happening internally or externally in your world, where you need to create a little bit of breathing space for yourself before entering into holding space for others, what typically do you find works well for you to create that space for yourself?
My father used to say, and I've shared this before, but he used to say, people call you when it's convenient for them. And so I have people texting me, messaging me, WhatsApping me, Facebook, you name it. People are reaching out because those are the ways that are convenient. I might get a text message from someone on a Sunday at, some time. And the other day I had a WhatsApp phone call at 6:12 in the morning. So what I do is, with my phone, and I didn't do this until last year, is right now I'm on Do Not Disturb. So the phone, I will not get any messages. The phone will not ring until tomorrow morning at 8:00 in the morning. And I typically get up at 5:30 or 6. But this way, if I want to check and see if there's messages, I can, but I'm not getting besieged with messages, because again, we are a global platform and people are sending messages when it's convenient for them. So the other thing is, and I've made this a point, I do not answer the phone. If someone calls me and I don't know they're calling and it hasn't been scheduled, I don't answer the phone, because I don't know what it's about, and I'm typically working. And so I have to say to myself, do I want to interrupt what I'm doing to take a phone call that I have no idea what it's about or how long it's going to take? So I will always say to people, they can leave a message, but message me in some way to say that you need to talk to me, and set a boundary. How much time do you need? And I know some people are offended by this, because I've been told, well, why do I have to schedule time? Because I want to give you my full attention, and I can't do it when I'm in the middle of doing something else. If you think about how many times we're doing something and then someone comes up and asks us a question, or they want to talk to us about something, and we're not paying attention, and the other person knows it, they feel it, but yet we feel like, well, at least I'm acting like I'm listening, and I'm actually not. So that's what I do. I set a boundary with my phone, with my email, and then when I'm going to get back to people. So I might not get back to someone. And by the way, I don't expect people to get back to me right away either, unless I put some kind of disclaimer on there. I need to hear back from you. And then, Mariska, I'd love to turn this over to you, because just today I was reading something about how the most successful people will answer a text message or an email immediately. And I saw something previously, I think it was a few months ago, that successful people don't answer right away. So I don't know what the what the truth is, but what do you do when someone reaches out to you? Do you get back right away?
Well, personally, I take your approach. So for me, boundary setting, and that's really what you spoke about, is that boundary setting around time boundaries, right? So for me personally, yes, I agree with your dad. I know he is off into a different place, but that's great wisdom. People do things when they are ready to do them, and that may or may not be when I am ready to receive it or to interact with it. Now, as you mentioned, time zones is a problem. I do not only have work that I work in different time zones, I have family in different time zones. Try and explain to your very elderly parents what times are convenient for them to message you and help them remember that.
That's a tough one.
It doesn't work. So I have done exactly what you do, is I have my phone on do not disturb, especially for certain apps, the ones that I know that they typically use more. And those ones, the message will come through when I'm awake, right? And I will message back when I am awake. I try to, especially with them, to message back at a time when I know that they will most probably be awake, because I know I can check that. So time zones for me, I'm so used to working with them, I typically check whether the person would be awake or not. But that's not always the case. I mean, I have people at the moment that I'm working with in New Zealand, and the other day I sent a message at, I think it was 6, which isn't that late for me, but it was 8 for them, right? So it's like, oh, yeah, I forgot about this. So setting those time boundaries for ourselves makes it really easy then to interact with other people. And that's one of the small little disclaimers I have at the bottom of my email address, or at the bottom of my email as well, is saying that please respond when it is convenient to you, because I don't know when that will be. I don't know when your day is beginning and ending, and which sides of the day you typically work well. That also goes for energy management, right? Some people are morning people and they love working in the morning, and other people are evening people and they love working at night. So I don't know what that is for you, and I'm not going to figure that out for you. You need to figure that out for you, set your boundaries, and then I will get the message back when I get the message back. And to your point, Dr. Jacalyn, if I need the message within a certain time period, that's when I will say, hey, please get back to me within the next 24 hours or before this date, or whatever the case might be, so that they know that there is a time boundary to it. And then, of course, because I work in different time zones, it will be this date and time in their time zone, right? Not mine, because otherwise I'm just going to confuse everything. So that's the way that I would typically approach it. And it also makes me wonder, Dr. Jacalyn, because one of the things that you've mentioned is being able to give your undivided attention when you have a conversation, when you are holding space, and being able to be ready to do that. So what do you do when the conversation that you're having with somebody, you have made yourself available to give your undivided attention, but for some reason the other person did not do the same thing? How do you address that?
Oh, this happens quite frequently, where you're having a conversation and you're in the middle of saying something and the person picks up their phone to look at something. And so what I do is I just call the person out on it and say, listen, if you want to be checking your phone, then we don't have to have this conversation right now. Oh, no, I can pay attention. I'm looking up this at the same time I'm talking to you. No, you cannot. You're not giving me your undivided attention. And what I found, Mariska, is that sometimes people will unknowingly go and check their phone because they're not comfortable in the situation or the conversation. And so now they have the excuse that they don't have to look at you, right? They're looking down. And that is sort of a distraction, so they don't have to actively engage with the conversation. What do you think?
I so agree. I have noticed that too. And it's so interesting how, depending on the different emotional awarenesses that we have, right? We spoke about before the break being emotionally regulated. Now, part of regulation is not necessarily going, I'm going to clamp down on the emotions and nobody will see anything. It's more of a, what's the emotion that's showing up? And what is required in this situation? Is this emotion appropriate for the situation that I'm in? Sometimes they are, sometimes they might not be, but they're trying to show me something. And interestingly enough, for me, when somebody grabbed their phone or they're doing something that's distracting them, it's sort of going, you know what you're doing? You're shortcutting your own emotional regulation. And now I don't know what you're expecting to happen, because it's not going to fix itself, one. And two, it makes it a little bit more annoying for me in the sense that now I need to regulate my own, right? And yours at the same time. And I know we are social species, right? So we do this typically more when we have young children, because they don't know how to regulate themselves yet. But I'm finding that more and more people struggle with this. So when you think about society at large and what you're seeing within your own space, what sort of the things that you notice, other than taking a phone, for people when they go out of the regulation into a dysregulation, and it sort of shows up in weird and wonderful ways?
One of the most profound things I see typically is people going into fix-it mode, where you're having the conversation and they are thinking, I know how to fix this. This person wants me to give them advice, tell them how to fix this situation. And so they're not listening and they're totally distracted just with the answer that they think you want. And the truth is, if we don't set a boundary and say, Mariska, I want to share something with you, it's going to take about 15 minutes. I'd really appreciate if you just listen. I'm not actually interested in your opinion, though I'm sure it's wonderful. But would you be open to just listening to what it is I'm going to share with you?
Well, I would be open to listening. I'm not sure whether that would be everybody's response, though.
No, it's definitely not. And then the other thing is, and I love this because I teach a number of classes, and I'll go through the steps in the beginning. Please wait until the end to ask your questions. We're going to be here for 2 hours. And throughout the thing, the hand, and sometimes it's just a little lift of the hand. It's not a full hand raise. It's just a little. And I think to myself, we've already gone through this. So then what I'll do is I will say to the person, I'll say, I see your hand is raised. Are you practicing elevated listening? And then they kind of like shrink, but I feel like you have to call it out because we're not paying attention to our own behavior. And I think when we always want to talk, then we're not actually listening. So someone's got to listen in order for there to be some kind of compromise.
And for there to be a conversation.
Yes.
Because it is a conversation, right? It means both parties get to participate in it, not just the one and not the other one. What I'm also wondering is, so as I am listening to you, going, okay, so I have opportunity to ask questions at the end. Sometimes, and I know for me, I don't know about other people, my brain will get a little bit fixated on something. And then it really wants to ask the question. So what I would typically do is I would write it down, because it helps me to get it out of my head onto a piece of paper. And now I know, okay, I won't forget it, but I can get back to actually listening and concentrating on the thing. What sort of skills or practices have you seen other people employ in elevating their own listening skills as you went through some of the training?
One of the things I think that it seems like it's not actually possible, but it is. And that is teaching a class and asking people not to take notes. Because when you're writing something down, you're focused on that. You're no longer listening. So the speaker continues to speak and you already miss the next three sentences because you're like, the dog. You're trying to remember what the words are and you can't. So now you already missed that part. So I will always say, just be completely and totally present and listen to the discussion. And what will happen is you'll either understand it or you won't. And so at the end, you may say, I was listening to this discussion on XYZ, but I'm still not actually certain of what you meant by that, as opposed to writing down sentences and then not hearing. And then basically some of what it is you're interested in hearing might have been covered by the speaker already.
That is true. That is true. I remember doing that when I was in school. I think it was in school. I can't remember doing it as much during university, but I do remember doing that in school where you would actually, well, I would write down the whole sentence of what the person said.
Yes.
I can't remember the last piece of that. And then
So
you
true.
already missed a whole bunch of the rest of what the person mentioned. And as much as I love our conversation, we are also getting towards the end of our little episode today. So, Dr. Jacalyn, before we leave our participants, because yes, I know you are listeners and watchers, but you are also participants. Come on. We like participation. So, before we leave them, how might people be able to contact you and what might be some of the things that they would contact you for?
Thank you very much. I'm going to share our website, which is usaglobaltv.com. And there's a lot of good information here. You can go to book your session, and then you can scroll down and you can actually go ahead and book an interview. You can use this, book your interview, or you can scroll down. You can also book a coaching session. Many times we have people who are not well versed in how to do a TV show. And so we offer that as well. We also help offer repurposing of your content, and then you can also apply to host your own TV show. So it's all here on usaglobaltv.com/book your session. And then finally, the next thing is we would love people to join our community, which is our YouTube channels. And we just crossed over 116,000 on USA Global TV and Radio, where we have the YouTube Silver Creator Award. And Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, which we started a couple of years later, we just crossed over 42,000. So please do subscribe, especially if you're on YouTube right now. We'd really like to have you in our community.
Yay! So if you want to join us on this show or any of the other shows, or you want to start your own thing, please do contact Dr. Jacalyn, and we would love to have you. Yeah. Of course, if you would like to contact me, I work with leaders. So whether you are a leader coming into leadership or you are moving up in your leadership journey, that's where I help. And not only on the emotional weight of leadership, but anything and everything related to leadership. Because, well, as we grow as leaders, there's always some things that we need to adapt or change or adjust to our way of being in order to become the leader that we wish we had. So if that is you, or it sounds like something that you would like to do more of, you are more than welcome to get hold of me. And you can do so via my website, which is journey2discover.com. Or alternatively, you can also email me. So my email is Mariska, MARISKA, at journey, JOURNEY, 2, discover, DISCOVER.com. Or if you don't want to go to my website or email me, you can also find me on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, it's nice and easy. Mariska du Preez. There is a little photo of my LinkedIn. If you are watching this, if you are listening to this, Mariska du Preez or Mariska D, I think, if you aren't closely related to me, via LinkedIn, and we can start our conversation with the little direct message feature there and see what it is that we can do for you within your own leadership space. Big or small, doesn't matter. And with that, thank you again for joining us here on USA Global TV and Radio for another Women's Prerogative. And remember to subscribe our YouTube channels, USA Global TV and Radio, or Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Either one of the two or both would be greatly appreciated so that you do not miss any of our episodes. Until next time, bye-bye for now.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram-Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to TracyCramPerkins.com. Tracy Cram-Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
Every day, we wake up knowing what we should do. We know we should take better care of ourselves. We know we should have the difficult conversation. We know we should stop making excuses. We know we should invest in our future. We also know we should take the first step. So why don't we? It's not because we aren't smart enough. It's not because we don't have enough information. And it's certainly not because we don't care. We live in a world overflowing with knowledge. Books, podcasts, videos, courses, experts, even artificial intelligence. We have more access to information than any generation before us. Yet so many of us are still waiting for the right time, waiting to feel ready, waiting until tomorrow. But tomorrow becomes next week becomes next year, and before you know it, another opportunity has passed us by. The truth is, knowing has never been the finish line. It's only the starting line. Our lives don't change because we know more. Our businesses don't grow because we know more. Our relationships don't improve because we know more. And our health doesn't transform because we know more. Everything changes when we act. When we choose courage over comfort, progress over perfection, action over intention. The question isn't, what else do we need to know? The question is, what are we going to do with what we already know? Stop. Why Knowing Isn't Enough by Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Because knowing opens the door. Action changes your life. Available September 2026.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.